The hillside house was still the same when Leo returned, slightly leaning to the left, aggressively beige, and adorned with the same "wipe your boots or be vaporized" welcome mat he'd bought on impulse during shore leave on Ganymede. The front door refused to unlock until he muttered the passphrase for the third time. Captain Vance, Galactic diplomat, hero of moderate circumstance. And even then it groaned like an old man who didn't care for visitors. Inside, the air felt off. It wasn't the smell, although there was a distinct note of sour synth milk and the ghost of burned toast past. No, it was something else, a density in the silence. As though someone had adjusted the gravity just for fun and then got bored halfway through. Leo dropped his duffel, kicked the nearest wall to remind the house who was boss, and headed straight to the fridge. It was empty. Not in the usual "you forgot to shop" way, but in the "someone has been meticulously stealing one item per day in alphabetical order" way. The last thing to disappear had apparently been the yogurt. He stood there blinking at the sterile shelves and scratched the back of his neck. "Okay," he said to no one in particular. "I've either been robbed by the most passive-aggressive burglar in the quadrant, or my house has developed taste and decided I eat like a maniac." The house, as always, said nothing, not even a beep, which was weird. The smart home system, Joel, judgmental operating environmental logic, was usually eager to offer backhanded remarks about his lifestyle choices. "Joel." He called. Silence. "Joel, are you dead?" A faint whir, then static. Finally, Joel's voice came online, sluggish and groggy like a hungover butler. "Captain Vance, you have returned. I was under the impression you had abandoned this property to the ravages of time and mold." "That was the plan," Leo said, closing the fridge. "But the Galactic Diplomatic Corps insisted I take personal downtime for recalibration and neural defragmentation. In other words, I'm being grounded for not making peace with a gas-based life form that tried to eat my pancreas." There was a pause. "Statistically, Captain," Joel offered, "your pancreas would not have been missed." "I missed you too." Leo wandered into the living room. Dust had collected in polite corners, but the room felt lived in. Too lived in. The throw blanket on the couch wasn't his. He didn't own a throw blanket. He once tried to use a thermal foil as a blanket and nearly cooked himself into a human lasagna. He picked it up, sniffed it. Neutral. No detergent scent, no skin oil, nothing. Which was stranger than if it had smelled like death and waffles. Something was wrong. Something had been here. That night, Leo sat on the edge of his bed, staring at the cracked ceiling panel above. The same sensation had returned, the heavy air like breathing through someone else's memory. He checked the room. No signs of forced entry, no footprints. Nothing but the low hum of the house's circulatory systems and Joel muttering something about firewall integrity. Still, he couldn't shake the feeling. The pilot's instinct, honed over decades of subliminal jumps and hyperspace migraines, was twitching in the back of his skull. "Joel, scan for intruders." "I have scanned. No unauthorized biological or synthetic life forms are present within the perimeter." "What about authorized ones I didn't authorize?" "By that logic, you should question your own presence." Helpful as ever. He tried sleeping. He really did, but at precisely 02:19 something shifted. The lights flickered just once, barely perceptible. Joel stuttered mid-snore, and Leo, half asleep, fully annoyed, turned over and opened his eyes. She was standing in the doorway, tall, motionless, wrapped in shadow as if the light bent around her out of habit. Eyes glowing faintly, not with menace but with something colder, certainty. She didn't breathe, her chest didn't rise. Her body was utterly still, like a statue trying very hard not to blink during a staring contest. Leo, to his credit, did not scream. He did, however, reach for the nearest weapon, which turned out to be a novelty lava lamp. He raised it. "Listen, I don't know who you are, but I am not in the mood to be murdered tonight. Maybe next Tuesday." The woman tilted her head. "I owe you more than you know," she said, voice low and laced with an accent that didn't belong to any region of Earth. "And I don't plan to leave." Leo blinked. "Great, so we're skipping small talk and jumping straight into ominous declarations." Her eyes dimmed slightly like the closing of a wormhole. "You saved me." "Don't take this the wrong way," Leo said, setting down the lava lamp with an unconvincing attempt at composure. "But I'm pretty sure I'd remember saving a glowing-eyed statue woman." "You wouldn't, it was in orbit. The containment drone failed. You rerouted a defense satellite to intercept. You did not see me, but I saw you." Leo stared. His brain was trying to keep up, but it had recently been in the diplomatic equivalent of a food fight and was not firing on all cylinders. I was just trying to stop the station from collapsing. You succeeded, I escaped. She took a step forward, and I have followed you since. Well, he said, slowly retreating toward his nightstand, I appreciate the follow, really. But this is not the sort of fan engagement I encourage. She stopped. I am not here to harm you, not unless you give me a reason. That's comforting. Most people open with hello or nice pajamas. Silence settled between them. Leo rubbed his face. Okay, look, why now? Why show up here like this? She blinked once. Because I need to feed soon, and I want you to understand me before I do. Leo went pale. She tilted her head again. Not like that. Also not drain me of life feeding. No, neural proximity siphoning. Your species is loud, energetic. It is difficult to resist, but I have learned to endure. Glad to know my brain is considered a 5-star buffet. I mean you no harm, Leo Vance. I am here because you were kind without knowing, and because I am tired of running. He sat down heavily on the edge of the bed. Well, he said, welcome to Earth. Home of weird smells, terrible leadership, and a truly impressive breakfast culture. We have pancakes, with syrup. Ashkara said nothing. But just so we're clear, he added, raising a finger, if you try anything freaky while I sleep, I will set the lava lamp on stun. Her lips twitched, just barely, a smile. Maybe. The lights flickered again, then held. She stood there, silent, her presence a weight he couldn't measure. And outside, the stars moved on without them, blinking like distant thoughts. The next morning, Leo awoke with his face smashed against the kitchen table and a spoon in his hair. A half-eaten bowl of dehydrated cereal floated lazily in anti-grav milk beside him, orbiting a used coffee mug like a moon with poor career choices. He sat up slowly, blinking at the stale light filtering through the auto-tinted windows. His neck creaked in protest. Somewhere deep in the house, Joel began a systems report with the same enthusiasm as a disillusioned opera singer. Good morning, Captain Vance. You snored at approximately 42 decibels. I recorded the entire performance for blackmail purposes. Leo yawned. Thanks, buddy. Remind me to delete your memory core later. You say that every week, yet here I am, still suffering. He stood, groaning, and glanced at the hallway, half expecting Ashkara to be hovering there, arms crossed, glowing eyes scanning him for breakfast potential. But the hallway was empty. The air didn't feel as heavy. The silence was just silence. He wasn't sure if that made things better or worse. The last few hours, if they could be called that, lingered in his mind like a song with missing lyrics. The woman, the eyes, the words. I owe you more than you know. Either he'd finally broken from reality, or he'd somehow attracted a psychic alien vampire with a morally flexible feeding plan. Leo rubbed his temples. Joel scanned the house again for intruders. A pause. There are no unauthorized biological signatures. However, there is a 78% chance that someone has tampered with the pantry inventory. Define tampered. Someone alphabetized your condiments. Leo frowned. He hated organization. It made him nervous. Right. I guess that rules out burglars. No one breaks into a house to alphabetize the mustard. Correction, the mustard is missing. The relish appears emotionally compromised. Before Leo could process that, a soft noise tickled the edge of his hearing. A footstep, a shift in the air, he turned. Ashkara was standing at the threshold of the kitchen, again without a sound. Still barefoot, still silent, and still dressed in what appeared to be a single piece of clothing made from something that shimmered between fabric and quantum uncertainty. She raised one eyebrow in greeting. I didn't mean to startle you, she said, though her face suggested that startling him was at least a minor perk of her day. You didn't, he lied. I just wasn't expecting breakfast company. I do not eat human food, she said, stepping further into the room. It is inefficient. Also, your pantry is unsettling. You alphabetized it. I was bored, and your system lacked coherence. There were pickles next to engine lubricant. Leo picked up his mug. Don't judge until you've tried it. Ashkara moved to the far wall and examined the kitchen display, watching Joel's ambient lighting flicker like a nervous chameleon. I had dreams, she said suddenly. Leo stopped mid-sip. Dreams. From your mind, I did not feed, but proximity causes, transference, residual thoughts, surface images. She looked at him. You were flying. And shouting at something called a council of spineless bureaucrats. Yep, Leo muttered, sitting down. Sounds like me. Ashkara tilted her head, the faintest trace of curiosity or amusement, touching her features. You also dreamed of dancing cheese. That one's private. Silence settled for a moment. Not heavy this time, but companionable. Leo scratched the side of his neck. Look, I get it, you're some kind of neural siphon vampire hybrid. Space Dracula, basically. You followed me here and now you're hanging out in my kitchen judging my condiments. Great. But what exactly do you want? She didn't answer right away. Instead, she walked to the window and looked out at the dry horizon. I don't want anything, she said. I need sanctuary just for a while. Leo raised an eyebrow. You picked *me* for sanctuary. I have a 10-year-old bathrobe and a cactus named Carl who hates music. You could have hidden on Mars. They have casinos now. Ashkara turned slightly. You saved me. That matters to my people, or it used to. There was something brittle in her voice. Leo recognized it, the sound of someone who'd lost more than they could say and didn't have the time to explain it. He set the mug down. Fine, you can stay, temporarily, but I have 3 rules. She waited. 1, no draining my brain, not even a nibble. 2, don't touch the lava lamp, long story. And 3, if Carl offers you tea, say no. It's not tea, it's sap and spite. I understand. And if I wake up missing my pancreas, I'm calling security. She blinked slowly. Why are humans so obsessed with their pancreas? Because ours don't grow back. She stared at him. And also, Leo added, standing up and rummaging in a drawer, if we're going to live together, you need to learn the ritual of Earth breakfast. He held up a packet. Dehydrated pancake mix. Just add water and a complete lack of shame. She took the packet, examined it like it might contain secrets to interstellar travel, and nodded once. I accept your terms. And then unexpectedly she smiled. It wasn't big. It wasn't wide, but it was there. Faint, flickering like a star seen from the corner of the eye. That day passed slowly. Ashkara didn't vanish or phase through walls or start glowing ominously. She sat. She watched. She asked questions endlessly. What was toast? Why did socks vanish in dryers? Was sarcasm a form of aggression or foreplay? By evening, Leo was exhausted, but the air in the house felt lighter. As he stretched out on the couch, nursing a soda with too much fizz and not enough taste, he glanced over at Ashkara, who was trying, very badly, to operate the remote. You press that button, he said, pointing. I did. No, that turns on the bidet. She looked at the screen. Why does the screen say, welcome to clean mode? Leo groaned. You're watching bathroom cam footage. This is why aliens shouldn't have remotes. She handed it over with regal indifference. Your technology is inefficient and obsessed with water pressure. And for the first time since he'd come back from space, Leo laughed. A real laugh. Ashkara didn't laugh, but she tilted her head again and her eyes softened. That night the silence returned. But this time it didn't press against his lungs. It didn't make his skin crawl. It simply settled like a guest who knew not to overstay their welcome. Ashkara stood once more in the doorway, watching as he drifted towards sleep. He opened one eye. You planning to stand there all night again? Yes. Can you at least blink every now and then? You're starting to freak out the curtains. Her eyes shimmered. I'll consider it. The toaster exploded at 07:13. To be fair, Leo had been warned. The moment he tried to insert a frozen protein slab into the ancient device, Joel had cleared his throat. A sound he'd programmed specifically to sound like an overworked librarian, and muttered, Captain, you are exceeding the appliance's emotional limits. But Leo hadn't listened. He never did when breakfast was at stake. Now the kitchen smelled of ozone, char, and mild betrayal. Bits of the protein slab clung to the ceiling like meat-themed art. Smoke curled from the toaster's remains, as if it were sighing in relief to finally be free. Ashkara stood in the doorway, arms folded, watching the scene with the same expression she'd had while watching him try to fold a fitted sheet the night before. Mild concern with a touch of curiosity, like observing a low-functioning AI attempting a Sudoku. You attempted to cook a weapon, she said. That was breakfast, Leo replied, waving the smoke away. Sort of technically if you squint. It fought back. It lost, Joel chimed in from the wall. For the record, Captain, this is the 3rd household appliance you've mortally wounded this quarter. The blender still cries at night. I'll send it flowers. Ashkara tilted her head slightly, then moved to inspect the wreckage. You live in a self-aware home, pilot prototype technology on a regular basis, and your species still hasn't mastered the art of controlled thermal preparation. That's not fair. We also invented 12 types of cheese gas. Ashkara raised an eyebrow. That explains your digestive systems. He flopped into a chair, wincing slightly as he shifted onto something that had once been toast adjacent. So, any mysterious dream transference last night? More dancing cheese. Me arguing with intergalactic tax agents again. She hesitated, then nodded once. I saw something strange, a small mobile creature with numerous legs and a top hat. Oh, that's Spindle. Don't worry, he's just a recurring stress hallucination. He insulted me in 5 dialects of Synthari. That's Spindle. She sat across from him, hands resting delicately on the table, as though afraid it might bite. You dream loudly, she said. Most humans do, but yours is chaotic, undisciplined, like a collapsing nebula. It is loud in color. Sounds about right, he muttered. My therapist once said my inner world was a clown car on fire. A pause stretched between them. Ashkara didn't laugh. She never quite did. But she blinked slowly in a way that, by now, Leo had learned meant mild amusement with a touch of exasperated pity. She stood. We need to talk about the anomaly. Leo blinked. What anomaly? Please don't say it's the freezer again. It growled at me yesterday. Ashkara moved to the display panel on the wall, tapped a few keys with practiced precision, and pulled up a scan Joel hadn't shared with him. 3 nights ago, just before I revealed myself to you, there was a spike in localized quantum activity. Earth doesn't generate that naturally, especially not in suburban districts with lazy cats and subpar plumbing. Okay, Leo said slowly. Could be a passing ship. There's always junk traffic around this sector. No, she replied. This was Vilanthari Tech, a signature pulse, brief but familiar. Leo sat up straighter. So, someone from your side. I thought they were all gone, destroyed, or disconnected from the vein. She paused, but this signal, this could mean they're looking for me. Leo tapped his fingers on the table, thinking. So let's say your long-lost vampire cousins are alive and grumpy. What's their plan? Knock on the door and ask if they can borrow a cup of neural energy. They don't ask, she said, voice tight. They take. Silence again. Joel broke it with a chime. Incoming data stream, unauthorized, attempting to intercept. Ashkara turned. Where is it coming from? Low orbit. Stealth probe camouflaged under meteor debris, transmitting in bursts every 31 seconds. I'm attempting to jam. Leo was already on his feet. Let me guess, Vilanthari probe. Ashkara's eyes were bright now. Not glowing, not dangerous, but lit with a sharpness that made him feel like they were one decision away from something very, very stupid. I need to see it. They moved fast. Leo's hangar, hidden beneath the hillside via a very illegal excavation permit and a little bribery involving a crate of Martian soap operas, still held his old short-range scout ship, the Spleen Asterisk. Named out of protest, maintained out of paranoia, she examined it as he prepped launch. You still fly this? It's old. It's got charm. It's got rust. That's its charm. The ship's emergency alert system activated itself during breakfast. Leo had just sat down with a plate of pancakes, slightly burned, wildly uneven, and suspiciously shaped like interstellar freight haulers, when the wall console lit up bright red and began blaring a noise that could only be described as anxious goat. Joel's voice crackled through the static, equal parts concerned and offended. Captain, you appear to be under assault from an unauthorized energy field. Also, your syrup has begun melting the table. Leo looked down. That's not syrup. That explains a lot. Ashkara appeared behind him without a sound, as usual, and stared at the console. Pulse frequency, same signature as the probe, but localized. Leo frowned. They tracked you to the house. She shook her head. No, not me, you. There was a pause. He blinked. Okay, no offense, but I haven't sent any weird psychic signals into space lately. My weekend plans mostly involve laundry and mild panic. Ashkara leaned in closer to the display. It's not psychic, it's embedded. You're carrying a trace tether. Leo stared. I don't remember picking up any tethers. I've never even been to a trace shop. She gave him a look that could have boiled water. He held up his hands. Okay, so I'm the galactic equivalent of a homing pigeon now. How do we fix it? I'll need to extract the tether imprint. It's probably woven into your synaptic net. Maybe deeper. If we don't disconnect it, they'll keep pinging you. Every time you sneeze, they'll get a postcard. Wonderful, Leo muttered. I always wanted to be a cosmic pen pal. Ashkara moved toward the couch. Lie down. Wait, we're doing brain surgery now. Not surgery, alignment. She patted the cushions. You'll be unconscious for most of it, unless your brain resists, in which case you might briefly taste colors. Joel interrupted. Captain, might I suggest backing up your consciousness before allowing a space vampire to poke around in your neurons? Joel, we've been over this. Your backups always include my middle school poetry. It's part of your essential identity. Ashkara was already seated, fingers splayed in a careful arc. Leo, focus. He lay down, took a breath, and muttered, "If I wake up speaking ancient Martian, I'm suing somebody." Then the world tipped sideways. He didn't fall asleep, exactly. It was more like his awareness got picked up, examined, and placed gently in a very complicated filing cabinet. Colors folded inside out. His name echoed in triplicate. Somewhere, very faintly, he could hear his own voice arguing with a vending machine about payment methods. Ashkara moved through his thoughts like someone rearranging books on a shelf, careful, precise, a little judgy. She didn't just see his memories, she tasted the edges, and some were spicy. He saw himself at 12 building a model cruiser that caught fire in zero gravity. He saw his first piloting exam when he'd accidentally engaged hyperspeed inside a simulation and created a minor pocket of distorted time where his instructor aged 3 weeks. He saw her, Ashkara, watching from the shadows of his recent days, her presence just beyond the corner of his mind, quiet but insistent. And then they found it. A thin strand of light embedded just beneath a thought about noodles. Clever, really, hidden in something so mundane it would never be noticed. Ashkara reached toward it. The strand pulsed, then struck. Back in reality, Leo sat bolt upright, eyes wide, hair floating slightly from static. Okay. That was a surprise. My noodles are angry. Ashkara grabbed his shoulders and forced him back down. It's protected, sentient code, semi-organic. You mean like living spyware? Yes, intelligent signal leeches. They're not just tracking you, they're learning you. Joel made a choking sound. Captain, I am initiating a firewall lockdown. Your brain has been compromised by something more irritating than your usual thoughts. Hey. Ashkara pressed both palms to Leo's temples. Hold still, I'm going in. Oh good, let's just let the vampire woman root around in my brain like it's a fruit salad. What could go wrong? She didn't answer. The second dive was sharper. Cleaner, whatever firewall. The ship's alarm sounded like an overexcited hornet with a vendetta, jolting Leo awake mid-pancake dream. He blinked at the console, which was flashing incoming contact, unauthorized, and muttered, "Great. I just got comfortable." Ashkara was already upright, eyes sharp and glowing faintly, the glow resembling a neon sign that said, "Do not disturb vampire at work." She tapped the console, her fingers moving faster than a caffeine-fueled code monkey. Whoever this is, they did RSVP. Leo yawned, rubbing the sleep from his eyes. Maybe it's Carl, he's been acting shady lately. Joel piped up, "Captain, Carl the Cactus has not been authorized to send communications, although I would be mildly concerned if he learned to use the comms." Leo scowled, "I'll check on him later." The holographic screen flickered to life, revealing a tall figure draped in sleek dark armor that shimmered like a starless void. The face was hidden behind a mask shaped like a stylized predator's snout, with eyes glowing coldly behind it. "Vilanthari envoy," Ashkara whispered, "and not one of the friendly ones." The envoy's voice crackled through the comm system, smooth and dispassionate, like a high-end synthesizer playing a dirge. "Ashkara of the Broken Hive," the envoy intoned. "You are summoned, the vein awaits your return, resistance is ill-advised." Leo frowned. He sounds like a bad infomercial. Order now and surrender your autonomy. Ashkara's lips twitched, but she said nothing. "Tell them," Leo said, "we're busy." The envoy replied, "You will comply or be reclaimed." A soft click signaled the end of the transmission. Ashkara stood slowly. "They're closer than we thought." Leo grabbed a datapad. "Time to update our security protocols from hopeful to paranoid." He paced the cramped control room. "First, we've got psychic tether ghosts, now aggressive stalkers with laser personality disorders. What's next? Space zombies demanding hugs." Joel replied, "Space zombies would be an improvement. At least they don't send threatening holograms." Ashkara's gaze was distant. The vein is not just a collective mind. It's a web of memories, a hive of consciousnesses, each fragment desperate to be whole. Leo scratched his head. "Sounds exhausting." "It is. So what's their game plan? Offer you a nice spa day and a lifetime supply of neural energy? Or just threaten a slow data leak? They want me to return, to reconnect, to become part of them again." Leo sighed. "Well, if it were me, I'd just ghost them. Avoid all calls and change my signal frequency." Ashkara looked at him. I have tried, but the vein's reach extends beyond simple technology. It's pervasive. Leo drummed his fingers on the console. We need a plan that's less run and hide and more fight and maybe brunch. Ashkara smiled faintly, the kind of smile that made Leo wonder if she was plotting or simply amused by his idiocy. We need allies. Leo blinked. Allies like who? The Galactic Council, the space pirates down at Nebula 7. Not quite, Ashkara said. There is one who once helped me, someone who understands the vein better than anyone. And who's that? Captain Zin of the Ardent Horizon. Leo whistled softly. That's a name I haven't heard since the third moon of Calax Prime exploded. She was once a hunter of the Vilanthari. Once, she changed sides, helped me escape the hive's collapse. And now, outlawed but still powerful. Dangerous. Leo grinned. Sounds like my kind of trouble. Joel beeped. Captain, should I prepare the *spleen* for departure? Yes, Joel. And make sure it's stocked with caffeine, spare parts, and at least 3 emergency snack packs. Ashkara moved to the navigation console, her fingers dancing over the controls. Zin's last known location is in the Velaryon sector, remote, difficult to reach. Perfect, Leo said. I hate easy. The ship shook gently as the warp drive powered up. Leo settled into the pilot's seat, looking over at Ashkara. You ready for a road trip? She nodded, ready. Good, because it's going to be a long one. And I'd prefer to survive it with all my eyebrows intact. As the stars stretched into lines and the spleen slipped into hyperspace, Leo couldn't help but feel a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, with the right allies, this mess could get a little less complicated. And maybe Carl the Cactus would finally get a proper nap. The spleen asterisk dropped out of hyperspace with the subtle grace of a dropped sandwich. Leo rubbed his temples and glanced around the cockpit, where the holographic map glowed ominously. The Velaryon sector stretched before them like a cosmic junkyard, full of forgotten satellites, rogue asteroids, and a suspiciously high number of drifting vending machines that had clearly given up on life. Welcome to Velaryon, Ashkara said, voice flat. Home of lost dreams and bargain energy packs. Leo snorted. Sounds like my kind of neighborhood. Joel's voice cut through the quiet. Captain, I must remind you that scavenging rogue vending machines is a direct violation of Galactic Codex 417. Also, the coffee from these machines has a 97.3% chance of being radioactive. Leo shrugged, worth it. Ashkara leaned forward, scanning incoming signals. Captain Zin's location is confirmed. An abandoned asteroid mining colony, hard to find, harder to approach. She's wary of visitors. Wary's good, Leo muttered. Means she's alive. As they navigated the debris field, a sudden jolt threw them both forward. The ship's system screamed in protest. Asteroid collision, Joel announced. Possibly the same one that stole my sense of optimism. Leo gritted his teeth, adjusting the controls to steady the spleen asterisk. Okay, new rule, no more surprise hugs from space rocks. Ashkara laughed softly, a sound that made Leo's chest feel less like a lead weight and more like a balloon on a windy day. They landed at the colony's surface, the ship's engines kicking up clouds of metallic dust and disused machinery. The place looked deserted, but Leo had learned to trust his gut, and his gut smelled trouble. Let's hope Zin's got a sense of humor, he said, grabbing his jacket. Ashkara's eyes flickered with something resembling a smirk. She does. Sarcasm is her native tongue. The airlock hissed open. They stepped out into the colony's main hub, a labyrinth of rusted walkways and broken consoles, lit only by the flickering glow of failing power nodes. Zin, Ashkara called softly. A shadow detached itself from the darkness, stepping into the faint light. She was tall, sharp-eyed, and wore armor that looked like it had been scavenged from 3 different galaxies. Her grin was wide and unapologetic. Well, if it isn't the infamous Ashkara bringing company. Her voice was rough but welcoming, and you must be the pancake pilot. Leo blinked. That's me, I try to keep the title humble. Zin's laugh echoed through the corridors. Good, humility's a rarity out here. They moved inside, the air thick with the scent of ionized metal and something faintly resembling burnt toast. Zin wasted no time. So, what's the deal? You running from old ghosts, or just collecting space souvenirs? Ashkara's gaze was steady. The vein is rebuilding, fragment by fragment. They want me to come back to reconnect. Zin's smile faded. And you want to keep your freedom. Exactly. Leo nodded. We're looking for ways to stop them. Zin studied them both. You're asking for a war. Not exactly the vacation plan, Leo said. Zin's eyes gleamed. Good, I hate vacations. She led them deeper into the colony, past rows of dormant mining bots and shattered holo displays showing faded records of prosperity and loss. This place, she said, used to be a beacon. Now it's a trap. The Vane Sentinels patrol here, psychic constructs designed to root out resistance. They're persistent. Leo shivered. Sounds like my last date. Eshkara's laugh was quieter this time. Zin opened a hatch leading to an underground chamber humming with energy. Here's where we make our stand. Inside, the room was dominated by a massive, pulsating neural core, an incomplete fragment of the Vane's hive mind. It flickered with disjointed memories, like a broken mirror reflecting countless faces. Ashkara stepped forward, reaching out to touch it. The core responded, sending a wave of images flooding her mind, lost voices, broken promises, and the aching desire for connection. She gasped, pulling back. It's overwhelming. Zin placed a hand on her shoulder. You can't fix this alone, but with the right allies, maybe we can stop the Vane from consuming everything. Leo grinned. Sounds like a team effort. I'm good at teams, especially the ones with snacks. Joel sighed audibly. I remain skeptical of your snack-based tactics. Ashkara looked at Leo, a flicker of hope in her eyes. Together. Leo reached out, clasping her hand. Together. Outside, the stars blinked quietly, bearing witness to a fragile alliance forged in the shadow of a forgotten hive. And somewhere deep in the neural core, the Vane stirred, sensing the rising defiance. The neural core thrummed beneath their feet, a living pulse of fractured memories and desperate whispers. Ashkara's fingers hovered just above its surface, the light from the flickering core casting strange shadows across her silver skin. Leo watched her, feeling the weight of every decision that had led them here. A pilot who had once burned his eyebrows off, an alien vampire who had long ago severed herself from a broken hive, and now, two unlikely allies standing at the edge of something that could either save or shatter countless worlds. So what's the plan? Leo asked, his voice breaking the heavy silence like a bad joke at a funeral. Ashkara glanced at him, a small, wry smile tugging at her lips. We dismantle the Vane's fragments one by one. Sever the hive mind from within. Leo raised an eyebrow. Sounds like therapy with lasers. Exactly, she said, her eyes gleaming with determination. But this is our last chance. If we fail, the Vane will consume everything it touches. Minds, memories, entire planets. Zin, leaning against the far wall with a mischievous grin, added, And I'll get to say I told you so. Leo laughed, the tension easing slightly. Always the optimist, huh? The team set to work. Ashkara interfaced with the core, carefully unraveling the tangled neural threads, while Zin and Leo held watch for psychic sentinels lurking in the shadows. The air hummed with energy, a strange mixture of hope and impending danger. Hours passed, marked only by the soft clicks of Ashkara's fingers and the occasional sarcastic remark from Zin. Hey, pilot, she called. If this goes south, at least you'll get a front-row seat to the psychic apocalypse. Don't jinx it, Leo replied. I'm already emotionally exhausted. Suddenly, the core pulsed violently, sending a shockwave through the chamber. Shadows coalesced into swirling forms, the Vane's sentinels manifesting in all their eerie glory. Leo drew his weapon, heart pounding. Okay, time to fight. Ashkara's voice rang out calm and commanding. Zin now. Together, they unleashed a coordinated assault, a blend of psychic disruption and old-fashioned firepower. The sentinels screeched and dissolved, unable to withstand the combined strength of their foes. As the last sentinel faded, the core dimmed, its once chaotic pulse slowing to a steady rhythm. Ashkara stepped back, breathing deeply. It's done. Leo wiped sweat from his brow. That was surprisingly satisfying. Zin grinned. See, told you. The group shared a quiet moment, the weight of their victory settling in. So what now? Leo asked. Ashkara looked at him, her eyes soft. I'm free. The Vane is broken, but its